Caesars being the biggest, MGM, all of them. Um, Bargaining power of buyers is pretty hard. There's a lot of options for buyers. Buyers tending to be in this industry, gamblers, vacation takers, entertainment seekers, things like that. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of casinos and hotels they can go to. So there's a high uh, leveraging power of buyers. For suppliers, the same goes there, although it's more medium to low. There's not as many suppliers in comparison as there are buyers, of course, but with over almost 150 locations just in Las Vegas, with that comes a lot of suppliers, things like food vendors, real estate and construction companies, etc. There also is a high degree of substitute products. There's, again, however many casinos and hotels that customers have the ability to choose where to spend their money. And there is a low degree of potential new entrants. This is the least significant force in the five forces model. It requires way too much capital investment. You need you're fighting over land, things like that.
Some of the strategic bundles that uh, we identify were growth, employee relations, spending, and competition. In the growth area, Wynn has used a transnational strategy, and it has been pretty successful for them. This is most notable in their Macau resorts in China. Another area that they could grow in would be alliances and joint ventures, which they should consider in order to grow in more areas and decrease their liability and costs and share costs. Under the employee relations, they need to work on increasing diversity and inclusion in the workplace, which will promote deeper trust and commitment from their employees. They also should develop an employee development program to promote from within whenever possible. With spending, they need to streamline processes that are cumbersome and costly and increase the efficiency of operations through investing in technology solutions. For competition, they should look at implementing employee relations strategies to become employer of choice in all of their markets. They have won awards in the past in Las Vegas for being the top employer, but they need to make that happen in all of their markets. They also need to design customer experiences that can hold more weight than comps. The description of the chosen strategic bundle basically says that given the challenges that Wynn Resorts have faced in the Macau market in China, growth should be explored in less volatile markets. This can be done through alliances again, including possible joint ventures in order to share the cost of growth at a time when revenue is not optimal during the continued COVID-19 pandemic recovery. This approach can help open new markets with shared risks. This process could require Wynn Resorts to pick a good partner that can provide complementary strengths. If said alliance takes place in the global market, being sensitive to cultural differences is vital. A transnational strategy, as Wynn Resort employs in the Macau market, would help the transition into a new market. It is also important to recognize that such an alliance must benefit both organizations and that both live up to their agreement. Structuring the decision-making process from the onset will facilitate swift response when it is required. And they have to remember to adjust the alliance as the partnership continues over time.
Moving on. Moving on to the current strategies that are working. Wynn Resorts appeals to many customers because they are more than a casino. Like mentioned before, all of their locations offer restaurants, entertainment, nightlife, spas, and luxury shopping. Wynn values their customers and considers them when making choices, ensuring that their customers are always satisfied with what they are offering. Wynn Resorts has launched an app where many people can play their favorite casino games on their phone. Like we said before, this is a great option for customers who don't live near a casino or those who are still apprehensive to going into crowded areas like a casino. Wynn is always thinking about the future, and the last strategy that I think is working well for the company is the pause of paying out dividends. This has been able to help them retain higher earnings during these last couple of years when a lot of businesses have been struggling. Looking at short-term and long-term plans, starting with short-term plans, Wynn needs to continue focusing on increasing the revenue, not paying out the dividends, and keeping the extra money as retained earnings. I think this is good for the short term, but in long term, they could upset people that own their stock. Lightly increasing the prices of their amenities or hotel rooms. As we all know, inflation is something that's affecting a lot of people right now, and I think that they could justify a slight increase. Long-term plans, one can really start promoting online gambling using their app. A lot of people, including myself, would like to stay home rather than go out. And I do enjoy, playing poker or gambling. So something that I can do from home, I am interested in. People can, something just popped up. I apologize. Okay, people can gamble from the comfort of their own home or from anywhere can really help them increase their reach and could offer another way for them to create revenue. Another long-term plan I would recommend for Wynn is expanding and opening other casinos. This is a great way that they could gain more market share and increase their revenue. And they could also think about purchasing smaller casinos that don't have a big following that they could then take over and use to make their own revenue.
Regarding the mission and vision, the focus was on recommendations moving forward. While I think their mission and vision was already very strong, I think the important parts are just to add aspects that they want to change on. So starting with the mission, the original one had a line that said, making every visit a once in a lifetime experience. And I think it's important to change it to this, making every interaction an experience, just because they're expanding on past in-person interactions and mobile interactions. So it's more about making every interaction and one that you'll return to because we're pushing the idea of a loyalty program. So this way, it's not just a once in a lifetime thing. With the loyalty program, people are implied to come back and earn more rewards. The main changes with the vision statement was that we just added focus on the online feature. It wasn't present before in their old vision. And so adding some sort of line about online gaming and how that's important for them. Also letting everyone know that they have a very big focus on loyalty and feedback and that they're retaining that information so that they can grow as they're needed to. And with the growth, just talking about the global resorts, as I know we've talked earlier in the presentation about them growing, attaining smaller casinos and global expansion. And making it a point to keep in the world-class customer service because that's something Wynn's been founded on and it should be a priority moving forward.
And then lastly, for the recommendations, so the target 3-year forecast across 2022 to 2024 sees a forecasted starting revenue of just under 4.2 billion, followed by about 4.6 billion, and then about 5.2 billion. These numbers were calculated primarily using a growth rate of 11.35, but also just off historic. Well, the 11.35 was calculated using historical averages, public sentiment, and investor grading. And then the NIAT is kind of reflective of that 11.35% growth rate. And then as for the 3-year strategic goals, so the overarching strategic goals are to improve finances, improve corporate governance ratings, and then domain expansion. And you can see there 9 or so different methods to achieve these goals. And then just generally, and lastly for the recommendations, the programs that are going to be launched or should be launched to achieve these strategic goals. WynnBET was just launched, so to maintain WynnBET, allocate funds towards new location openings, like they're doing with their Cotai and Macau locations. For the time being, keep the pause on the shareholder dividend payout so as to return a higher degree of earnings. They recently implemented stewardship models to restructure management, so continue with that. They also would like to launch new discount programs as well as loyalty programs to continue diversifying themselves. They'd like to either issue new shares or separately, if they don't do the first, buy back existing shares. You can also allocate more resources into online gambling in case of events like COVID, and then in 3 to 4 years, reassess the situation and potentially unpause the dividend payout so as to entice new shareholders. That was our presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.